Film Club.
Can we just tell you about the migrations of Robins?
Welcome to Conveniently Critical, and welcome back to Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison. To my right, Andy Dalton. The light inside of us all. That's going to become like your thing now. You're going to become the light inside of us all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to my left, Samara Sajid. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I know last week we discussed your name. How much emphasis do you want me to put in where on your surname?
Is it?
Sajid?
Really good.
Sajid.
Sajid.
So more emphasis on the A than the I. Got
Yeah.
you.
How about the year?
By week 6, we'll have it down. So this week, we're actually going to watch Django. We've watched Django Unchained. So, Samara, do you want to start us off?
Oh, wait. It was made in 2012 by Quentin Tarantino. Stars Jamie Foxx, Christopher Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, even Samuel L. Jackson's in it. There's a few good actors. Who plays?
You just list everybody and then go, oh, and there's a few good actors as well.
No, there's a few good other. I meant to say the other actors. Who plays Django's wife? She was a good actress.
Couldn't tell you.
Sorry.
I do actually have this thing.
Washington?
We'll have a look.
She's off
Washington?
something else I've seen before, but she was fantastic in it as well. She was actually
Yeah, you're
really
right. It's Kerry
fantastic.
Washington.
Well
done.
played. Yeah, so that's the film that we're going to do today. And yes, sorry, Samara, would you like to start off with how you felt about this particular film?
So I think it was maybe like my fourth, possibly, I've seen it more, time watching it. So I was still like, I was still shocked by like all the blood, which is interesting.
Yeah,
Because I forgot that it was coming.
Yeah.
So that was still fun. I still laughed. I paid a lot of attention to Django and Schultz's relationship.
That's good.
More than I have previous watchings, so that was interesting.
Yeah, it was nice. It was. I really enjoyed how there's one particular moment that for me defines a relationship. I think it's when they're out camping and he's on about bounty hunting and stuff, and Jamie Foxx, he's on about help your wife, and it's how they come to some sort of conclusion that could work well together. And then you come to the Ku Klux Klan scene, and then you see how Django is amazing with the rifle, and you see this kind of like that from Waltz's character, Dr. Schultz. Dr. Schultz. And you see this, wow, you're really good, like this partnership could work, which is a contrast because there could have been something absolutely great, and in the end of the film, just such a shame, really. But I think it was a really good, sorry to go on a bit of a tangent in regards to this whole relationship thing, but just to go on about the ending, I think it was a really good end for the character of Dr. Schultz. But yeah, there was that scene where they sat down, I think they're camping in some sort of canyon, and they're talking to each other, and it's that's where it kind of like...
I think there's,
starts.
if I remember right, there's 2 of those scenes, maybe 3.
3.
There's a couple of those scenes, and actually for me, they're probably, not to dive straight into it, but they're probably the best part of the film, where it's just those two hanging out. It's actually, I think, when Django is like maybe off his guard.
Yeah, that's a very good shout.
He's allowed
Yeah,
to be a
off his guard,
person again.
That's really, really interesting because one of the things that I really stood out to me watching it this time was how Django kind of like is playing a character while he's a slave, and the point when Schultz says to him like, "Oh, you have to play a character," that's the point where he finally starts to become more himself. Granted, he like blows it up a little bit, but anyone in that situation, like, why would you not? So that was really interesting.
But okay, do you think that's himself though? Because the weird thing is we never get to know Django as a character like before that. So you never quite sure whether the persona he's putting on is himself blown up or it's something totally different.
Yeah, because at the end, Django's wife's a bit like, when he like kind of walks away, she's a bit like, wow, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know she hasn't seen Django in ages, but there's that end scene where he just kicks ass and he's shooting everyone, and he walks out and blows up behind him, and she's just like, ooh.
Yeah, and you kind of get the feeling a lot of time what he's doing is then he's inviting himself on it as well. Like when Dr. Schultz gets involved with that guy who's...
When his son's there.
No, whose son?
So the first time Django shoots someone, it's his like first thing on his own.
Oh yes, sorry. No, I was talking about when Dr. Schultz stops the Leonardo DiCaprio's character. I can't remember the fella's name.
Candy.
It begins with C.
Candy.
Calvin Candy? Something
Calvin Klein. When he stops Calvin Klein from
Calvin Candy.
killing that slave who was running away, and
Yes.
it's Django who gets involved.
Do you call him Calvin Klein?
Calvin Klein.
Go on.
When it's Django that gets involved and stands up to him and says, "Oh no, like it's your slave. Do what you want."
Yeah.
But then after Calvin Klein has stared him down, he has like a moment of being like, when he finally turns away, you get this little moment with Django where he's like, that was difficult.
Yeah, you do actually. Yeah, it's a good point. That it was nice. It was it's very interesting to see it because at the start it was just nice to see this evolution of this character. Really, I enjoyed that.
Okay.
But for me, Dr. Schultz just fucking wins it. I mean, what's really interesting about it is I'm pretty sure I read this somewhere. Will Smith was supposed to be take lead role, wasn't he? If I recall.
I've heard this. Yeah.
And he either didn't do it for personal reasons, or I think it was his he had too much stuff going on at the moment. And Jamie Foxx, I've always seen him as a very cool character. He's honestly, there's films he's been in before, and he's been fantastic. I can't think on the top of my head what they were, but I know they were good. And he always plays really cool characters, and it was fucking good to see just Jamie Foxx just absolutely smash that role, and just with his like suaveness. I think there's a word to describe Jamie Foxx as suave. He does everything. He's a fucking great singer, and he's an actor, and he's all this stuff, and he's actually a really nice guy. Like, I've seen a couple of YouTubes where he's just talking to people, and he's like a really sincere guy, like by the sound of like watching him.
A couple of YouTubes.
But yeah, so Jamie Foxx was fantastic, but Christopher Waltz, this is what I was going to go on to before. What's really interesting is how Christopher Waltz just fit into this kind of role so well. I know it's Tarantino, and you could argue that when he made Django Unchained after Inglourious Basterds, that you could potentially like kind of adapted the character of Dr. Schultz towards Christopher Waltz. But you know about Inglourious Basterds, how he made that particular character, just mainly, no one else could do that role apart from Waltz. You've heard that, haven't you? So it was really interesting to see like how Christopher Waltz just come out and do this other fucking superb role again, except this time he was a protagonist as opposed to an antagonist. And he fucking loved him either way. In Inglourious Basterds, he's my favourite character. And in this, he's my favourite character as well. In Django Unchained, he's my favourite character. There's something about Christopher Waltz that's just mesmerising. It's like the new Spectre as well when he played Blofeld. Like, unfucking real. Like,
yeah, like I completely agree. I think across the board, the acting's like out of this world for it.
Yeah, even Leonardo DiCaprio is superb.
You've got these three main performances, and all three of them are absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
So you
completely agree.
which is interesting, actually.
But they're all really amazing in like their own unique ways.
Yeah, they're all different characters.
However,
really.
I do think Dr. Schultz is like head and shoulders above.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people bang on about Leonardo DiCaprio's role in this.
Well, yeah,
For me,
I agree with you.
I completely agree. Dr. Schultz is head and shoulders the guy who, when he's on screen, I want to hear him talk.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
And it all comes
You
from
do,
those first two intro scenes.
Yeah.
The first one where like he sets Django free.
Yeah,
And like you're not quite sure what's going on here. And that second one where he marches Django into town,
the sheriff.
into the bar,
Yeah.
lets that whole thing play out, and you suddenly think, shit, like this guy knows what he's doing. This guy is like manipulating everybody, but not in a bad way. He's very clearly a good guy.
Yeah.
Who just understands how people work.
He's a doctor.
It seemed he seems to have like a really weird objectivity on everything, where he's like able to like take that step back and like orchestrate the situation. But I think there becomes a point where I think like him and Django start to get really close, and his morals and his kind of like, because his whole thing works because he's kind of like alone.
Yeah.
I don't think he quite realises that, but as soon as he starts like pairing up with Django and starts like caring about Django and getting more invested in his life and wanting to, I don't know, help him get his wife back, everything gets a bit muddled for him, and that's where stuff starts to go wrong.
Yeah,
because suddenly he's got to put himself in situations where he's not in control, which is like every time he's in a situation where the slaves are being treated poorly, he starts to mess up. He starts to let things slip. He starts to like let his facade slip a little bit.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be in those situations if it weren't for Django. So, I mean, is he relatable? The question I want to ask you guys actually, is he relatable? Is he the character we like? Because he represents...
I don't think he is. I think, when I watch him, I think, like, when you said I just want to hear him talk, like, I've got friends there, like, when we were going about films before, which is how this all started, I enjoy hearing people, like, talk and stuff like that, but with Dr. Schultz, I don't know, it's just, like, I think there's a next level to him, and it's so interesting to watch, and he's just, he's doing all this. And we just know about Dr. Schultz here, or when you're about like DiCaprio's character or Jamie Foxx's character?
So where I was going with that was Dr. Schultz, is he the main character? in terms of like, are we drawn to Dr. Schultz because he represents more of a modern person and a modern sensibility?
In regards to the film, in the context of the film, yeah.
Yeah, like because we look back on like times of slavery and you kind of go, oh my god, I can't believe people used to do that. Like, it's like absolutely disgusting.
That's a good point.
He takes those same approaches. In addition,
I never thought about
he's
that.
also the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. So obviously I'm drawn to him.
Nah.
But no, that's a very good point because he's objectively against slavery. Because
Can we stop for a second? Did you forget the word for slavery?
I did.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's against it, and you can tell in the start scene when he gives the keys to the rest of the slaves, and just how. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting point what you rose there, and I agree. Like, he's got two parts for him. He's got this part that's just like you want to be in, but then you got this part, like you said, he's very modern for that particular time. So very interesting. Good point.
Can I address something?
Yeah.
Right. I struggle with this film.
Interesting.
Is it because it's long?
No, I don't struggle to watch it. I don't struggle to hold my attention.
Explain yourself.
I struggle to like this film.
Okay.
Please elaborate.
I struggle to like it, I think, for the same reasons I struggle to like just about any Quentin Tarantino film.
Well, because there's so much, it's so much Tarantino in that movie. Like, how you could argue that the emphasis in dialogue is like a major part of Tarantino's movie, but I really enjoy that. But there's this particular part, especially towards the end when Django's like shooting everyone. It's the great scene when he shoots the sister of Candice, and he goes fucking flying. It's just a dash shot. That would never happen, but it happens in Tarantino's movies. For what Samara said before, the blood. Is that what you're trying to say? Like, you think there's too much of that kind of like exaggeration in Tarantino's movies?
Exaggeration in some context I'm fine with. I love Kill Bill.
Yeah,
Loving
there's a lot of
Glorious
Kill Bill
Bastards.
to it, yeah.
So in that regard, in Kill Bill, it totally works. Yeah, because it's feels almost like the world of an anime or a manga.
Oh yeah.
That's why Kill Bill works. So in Django, there's something about it which makes the self-aware filmmaking style which Tarantino does. Like all of his films are self-aware. Like in like that moment where he shoots her and she goes flying back out.
Or Tarantino's cameos.
It's a very beam. He can get fucked. That was the worst cameo I've ever seen. Like you've got this, like I said, immensely well-acted film. Then suddenly Mr. Tarantino, who seemingly is an okay actor, but he stands out like a sore fucking
I'd
cunt.
love him to watch this, Ray. And then he'd fucking ring you up. And he'd go, fuck you.
Fuck
You're
you,
like, "You did that
Andy."
I'm
interview."
sorry, Mr. Tarantino. I do apologise. But within that film, you were the worst actor, and it showed.
It's because everyone else is so amazing.
Yes, you're
yeah.
absolutely right. And then he stood out.
Yeah.
So it's a self-aware filmmaking. That moment where she goes flying back out.
I enjoyed that. I thought it was funny.
It's funny, but it's only funny from a self-aware filmmaking point of view because the angle to which he shoots her doesn't match up the angle to which she goes flying.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not tricked into believing the world, which means that you're suddenly aware you're making a film. Okay, fine. Does that work in this film where we're touching on such a difficult to discuss subject?
Check you, fucking deep thought person. But no, honestly, it's a very fucking good question.
That was constant. Maybe it's because
Maybe it's because it's such a fucking big thing that, like, a good example is 12 Years a Slave, who was on a similar kind of, a very similar
Same
thing.
topic.
But he did it in such a different way. I mean, I watched that film and I've only seen it once, and I was with my dad and couldn't cry because I was with my dad, but fucking hell, I wanted to. And then you watch something like this, and yes, it's a fun film, it's an action film. It's got the fucking Ku Klux Klan in, and yet it's still funny, it's still class and all this. It takes the piss out of it all. I think, yes, it does work, because if you're going about slavery, like, especially with America and stuff, less so for the British, even though we one of the worst people to do it. It's you see all this like fucking. It's such a bad thing that happened, and it's still in some places of the world now. It still does happen, but to be able to like acknowledge that, and at the same time not do it on the basis where I watched 12 Years a Slave, and I might not want to watch it again because I'll fucking cry, just cry my eyes out sort of thing. But I can watch this again. I can appreciate it, and I can understand the point it's trying to make. Like you said before, like relating to Schultz's character, the modernist inside of him. But I think it works. Yeah, I think it does work.
I don't know, because like, okay, so that's it. So the first time I watched it was like when it came out, and I was really, really taken with it. That's so distracting. I'm so sorry.
I'm very sorry. For those of you watching right now, I've just opened up our timer and not realizing that we've actually been running the timer ever since last week's recording. So we are now many hours into the timer.
Why are you laughing on a really touchy subject here?
Shoot your face. Samara, go on.
What on earth was I saying? Okay,
You watched it again the first
yeah,
time?
first time it was hilarious, and I didn't really like. I was watching. I loved Tarantino at that point, so I was all in, and I really loved it. But now, I kind of agree with what you're saying, because I think when I was watching something a while ago, and Tarantino was saying that he wanted to make something about slavery because America doesn't acknowledge it. Now that's all good and well, but I don't know. It's one of those things where like, are you treating it with enough respect? And like I don't know. Like the brutality of the situation does come through at some point, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Tarantino gets a free pass for being Tarantino. He's like a child who knows how to make a film. Like he's so excited to make it, and he wants it to be like ridiculous and in your face, and everything has to be like explosive.
Yeah.
And like that's fine. Like it's good. It's like it's his own style, and it's like it's something really interesting. But I don't know. I can't remember what I was coming home with like before the timer thing. So I'm just gonna keep talking until one of you starts talking.
Okay. Well, we'll take over. You think about what you were gonna
Yeah.
do. Okay. So, are we ruined by 12 Years a Slave? Like, did we have a big, impactful film
12
that
Years
dealt
Slave came
with,
after, did it not?
that dealt with? Yeah, but to be fair, I'd seen it before. I watched Django.
Oh, really?
So personally, I'd seen 12 Years a Slave before I saw Django.
Well, I think 12 Years a Slave brings the actual, like, the reality of slavery. Just it brings, I mean, to me, like I said, I broke down because it was that bad. I've read articles, I've read shit, and it was that bad, but fuck, even that's a film, like 12 Years a Slave, but this, like, it still has, like, the principles of slavery and everything like that, and it does do it, partly tongue-in-cheek, but what...
Well, similarly, does it matter
I
that
think
this is being made by a white director?
Interesting.
Like 12 Years a Slave, not to compare the two, they are very, very different films, but 12 Years a Slave handles it well.
Steve McQueen as well.
It's made by Steve McQueen,
Yeah.
who is a black director. Yeah. Does it? How much does it matter that Tarantino is white in this case?
Well, it's actually funny you should say that. You were going about white directors, black directors, but then you've got to take into account Steve McQueen. He's British, is he not? Irish. And then Quentin Tarantino is American.
Yeah, you're correct.
So he has more of of upbringing with slavery, whereas I can't say...
I really hope he's got no upbringing of slavery.
Awareness.
I see what you mean. Like,
yeah, he was brought
he's
up with
still
the
entrenched
history.
in that culture, which he's
it-
commenting on.
Which American school would have been. American history is all about history in America is all about American history, whereas history in Britain, we're on about from the World Wars to fucking Egyptians and stuff like that. Like, I can't say what Tarantino's been brought up on educational wise, and the same for McQueen. But I think the fact that you've got to take into account one's black and one's white, but also one's British and one's American.
Yeah. But it just so happens that the British guy
Swap
made the
round.
one which actually is more deeply affecting.
Yeah.
Whereas
I need to watch it again. 12 years.
this is what I mean, though. This is what I mean in terms of self-aware filmmaking,
Okay.
because he's making a film which is very aware it's a film, and he's having fun within that medium.
Yeah.
So was this the appropriate subject matter to have fun with?
I think we need a third film to bring it into.
Yes
light.
and no.
What do you mean the third film?
That's what I mean. I can't think of it at the moment, like a third film to do with slavery. I mean, you got one that's very in depth, like 12 Years a Slave. You got one that's very kind of like.
So that's what I mean.
upbeat.
Were we spoiled by 12 Years a Slave because we never really had deeply affecting films on slavery before, And 12 Years a Slave kind of came out of nowhere in that
I'm trying
regard.
to think of one.
And
There is one out there.
started discussing these on a really heavy topic. Like, yeah, no one agrees with slavery, obviously. But these films started that conversation back up again.
Well, the good thing about like Tarantino, and as you know about his own style, does he not make a lot of people watch this film and these people around the world that might not be aware of how, you can't say how bad slavery was, Tarantino's film, but does not make people more aware that this actually happened. People out there might completely be unaware of slavery, and they might have brought it to light.
I think because it's so self-aware, people forget that it's about slavery. Like, it's about like the blood, and it's about like laughing and like enjoying the film experience. He's not making a comment about slavery. He's making a film. It just happened to be set there because that was like a touchy subject, and it adds more like sensationalism to his films, which is what he cares about.
But then there's scenes like when the dogs are against the slave against the tree, and then there's one where his wife's in the she's absolutely scorched and brutally like kind of like knackered, and there's scenes like that which like fuck.
The thing is though, they don't stand out to me as like really hard hitting just because everything else is so in your face all the time that like for those scenes to like have an impact that you want kind of with the right tone, the tone that's supposed to be conveying, you need to have like quiet in the rest of the film.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And those people aren't characters.
Exactly.
We don't get to
Yeah.
know those people. They're
Yeah.
just bit parts, which like come in for an effect.
He's like he cuts to it so that you can like it gets you, and then cuts away back to like something flashy. It's not lingering or anything, which
Yeah.
is just how he wants to make
I mean,
films.
to your point earlier about like those aren't the things that come to mind, and this isn't he didn't make it out to make a film which is about slavery. Actually, no. To be fair, I'm pretty sure I've read a few interviews where he has said he didn't want to make a slavery film. He wanted to make a Western,
Okay.
but a Western which didn't shy away from the fact that slavery was happening at that time.
Oh.
You know, most Westerns
Yeah.
just kind of ignore it. It's off the table. You don't touch it, or it's there slightly. He instead was going to address that. So fair credit to him. Like he kind of tackled it head on. But you're right. When this film came out, people weren't talking about the horrific act of slavery, and they weren't talking about this. You be fair, like to go into this not realizing it's about slavery. If you just heard it from people were talking about like Leonardo DiCaprio's performance and like the moment where he wipes the blood over the girl's face, and then like the lines which were like, "You had my curiosity and now you've got my attention."
Yeah, but that whole scene, this is what we're going on to. That whole scene, it's using a slave as an object. It's all about buying so and so, and they use the I can't use the word, they use the N word and stuff like that. And they use it left, right, and centre. And it's even later on they're on about like negotiating deals for people. Like some of the best things about Tarantino films is the dialogue, but a lot of that dialogue involves talking about buying and selling slaves.
Yeah. Oh, and don't get me wrong, the dialogue in this film, awesome.
But the what it includes. Like, I agree with Samara. I think Samara's absolutely right. Like, hit the nail on the head when it's on about everything else needs to be quiet. And that's a very, very good point. But you can't deny that there are like themes of slavery in there. And to me, I try and see the positive of that, like how it's bringing it to a wider audience. And yes, but then fuck it. It's a very controversial subject. Very, very. And I don't want to say the wrong thing, but at the same time, like, I'm not glad that he didn't do it.
Yeah, like
I
I think
agree.
the thing is like he wasn't trying to fix anything. It's just I don't know. Like I'm not saying that it's a problem that the slavery wasn't lingered on. I'm just saying it wasn't lingered on. Like I don't have a problem with it because like you can't tell someone how to make a film. Like it's their thing.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think maybe what, like, guys, correct me if I'm speaking for you here, but maybe what we're trying to get at is that it's not that the slavery isn't like in it enough. It's not represented enough because it's there plenty. Like you said, every inch of this film is basically about slavery. But I think it's that he never makes a really strong statement about those people as people. Let's take Django's wife as an example. She's not a character. This is one of the things that's made me struggle getting into it. The film's based around, let's go get Django's wife back, who I know nothing about.
Do you reckon it'd be interesting if they involved, like, it cut to scenes away from Schultz and Jamie Foxx's character, Django, yeah, that's his name. It cut scenes away from them, and it involves scenes of what she was going about, like the suffering that she had to go through. Do you be interesting if that was put in throughout the
That
film?
was what I
Interesting
was
idea.
thinking when you said that, to be honest. The thing is, like, it's the intention of the film is what's important. Like, what they wanted to make was important, not.
Yeah.
Do you know
the
what I'm,
topic and stuff.
exactly? Like,
Yeah.
Tarantino isn't a woman and he isn't black. He cares about his characters and making his characters so interesting to watch, and he is good at that. It's kind of his thing, and that's what he did.
You know what's
Yeah.
interesting as well? Sorry, Andy. The main characters as well. You know, you say it's so interesting. The characters. The majority of the main character, who Django is a black male, for the whole film, by maybe 1 or 2%, he's not a slave. So it's not really about like the main character isn't a slave technically.
I think when I was watching something, I was watching an interview, and they were saying how they didn't want to make like a slavery film, like you said before. They wanted to focus on like the redemption and the hope that like people didn't have, and wanted to give like some representation to, I don't know, the other side of it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll move on from this, but
Yeah, it's a very good question.
there's one last thing I want to bring up about it. The thing that really sealed it for me, actually, this idea that maybe he was taking it too lightheartedly and he wasn't representing almost any of the slave characters as slaves, and as people, as characters in this film. It's right at the end, and it's when Django finally gets his wife back, and she's sitting outside on a horse, smiling away, and then he comes out and starts like trotting his horse around and doing tricks. And I just sat there and thought, inappropriate.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did. And like I've always, like, to be fair, like I want to preface all this. I've always had a problem with a lot of Tarantino's filmmaking. And it's for stuff like this. Like you said, he loves to make his characters interesting to watch, and they are interesting to watch. They're interesting to listen to. The dialogue is awesome, but he wants to make them more interesting than they are relatable.
Oh yeah.
You hate it when sorry if you're one of these people, Samara, but can I say this?
I don't know what you're going to say. Let's go for it.
One of his things is he's a lecturer. One of the things is he asks his students what their favourite director is. And you get a lot of Tarantino's, he's like, ah!
I was one of them.
Yeah, get in, sorry. That's gonna
I'm
that's
so
gonna
like,
fucking
I'm
clip
so
that.
ashamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you did say previously that it evolved over time.
Do you know how horrible that
Well-
was? Like,
But
That's
this
hilarious.
is it. Like Tarantino is like the film students' like holy Jesus, because what he's doing, all his stuff is great. Like he's making good quality, high budget films, but all of his filmmaking is on the surface,
oh yeah.
and it's all surface level, which means that when you're getting into film, he looks really interesting because you understand everything that he's doing,
Oh yeah.
and like you can see all the stuff that he's doing.
As opposed to someone like Nolan, where it's just like if you look like Inception, or something like that, where it's a bit deeper into regards
Not
to.
even
Not
necessarily
even
like
known.
thematically, just in terms of like using the medium and like every part of it to convey something like specific and subtle. That requires more skill than like
Yeah.
throwing a bunch of like blood everywhere
You're
and
correct.
then exciting an audience. Like to make an audience feel something is so much more difficult than to excite them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like
Good point.
he's great at doing the exciting stuff, and he does all the exciting stuff right. I do want to move on to some more positive stuff, actually, because
Sorry, Tarantino.
perfect. Yeah, sorry. It's just me. I promise. It's just me. Loads of people love you. I'm sure. Like you guys probably like this film.
He's gonna go home and piss
than I
on
did.
Django Unchained.
But so I want to move on to good stuff, and that's like the perfect segue, because
Oh, segue,
the thing
great
which
word.
I love about this film is all the practical effects.
Mm.
Yeah, like point at some CGI in that film for me.
Well, I'm pretty sure, you know, going back to that reference to his sister shot, moved back, that must have been some sort of tripwire thing, like, not tripwire, what the fuck it's called, where you're on the back, boop, it pulls it back onto some spongy stuff. That must have been that. It looks like it was that. The explosions, though, how would they have done that? Just in like a Star Wars kind of thing on the Death Star, where it's like all small scale. How do you do
What
this?
explosions are in there? There's the wagon, isn't there?
At the
where
end.
he shoots the
Oh, it
wagon.
was brilliant. I love that scene. Oh, we have to
The wagon
reference
could
that as
be
well.
like
Very
scale. It could be like
That's what I mean,
genuinely
yeah.
scale.
Is that how a lot of explosions are done nowadays? Besides CGI?
Depends on the size. Like the house at the end, they might have filmed a miniature.
Mm.
I don't know.
and they superimposed Django on his horse. Is he on his horse at the time?
He's walking away, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
doing the badass walking away from like.
So
the,
would you
the
superimpose Django over that scale explosion scene?
Could have done. Yeah, absolutely.
I would not know how to do this.
We have to talk to him to find out exactly how he did it. But yeah, that's an option.
What? Give us some more examples of practical effects that he's done.
Practical
Please.
effects, the blood, like the fact that when someone shoots something,
Do you reckon they have blood cartridges?
there
to
is
go?
like there's like actual like smoke coming out the gun, and then
yeah.
like there's probably like a blood cartridge that explodes. Whenever they're on horseback, they're actually on horseback. There's no like you don't cut to a green screen of them like pretending to be on horseback riding through the forest or anything.
Who does that? Like Lord of the Rings or something?
Like everybody.
Really?
If you go and watch the majority of films which come out of cinemas, and there's at least some unnecessary CGI in there. So
It's lazy sometimes. It's just because it's easy to stick someone in front of a green screen. Like people don't want to get out in a field with a horse because it costs money and it's dirty and it's like harder to shoot. And people don't want to do that.
It's nice.
I've never ridden a horse.
have you rid a horse?
I was
My ex had one.
oh, there you
You
go.
rid her horse.
Yeah, it was Jordan.
Hey,
Jordan, it was a bit of a fat horse. It was a lovely horse.
oh.
And she gave me a ride lesson. I was going away like this, but I got into a little canter and it absolutely knocked your balls. So
Were you on a
I
saddle?
think I'd be okay.
yeah, there was a saddle, yeah. And then
Apparently
she went on in
barebacks
front of us
more
and
thin.
took us into a trot. No, I was in a trot and then I went to a canter. She took us into a canter, which is a bit of a faster
What
trot.
does all of this mean?
So you
A
got to
trot's
walk.
like
a horse walks.
Yeah.
Kind of
And
like
then you go, we've got a massive tangent here. Horse walks, then you go into a trot, which is a bit, and you go into a canter, which is a thing, and then you go into a gallop. And she was in front of us, and I just remember my balls just fucking hurt. But yeah, it's. I had one day of doing it, and it was fun, and you could get used to it. So it might be worth. Then you have to rent horses, you have to put them up and stuff. So yeah, maybe CGI is a bit more cheaper.
And you're right. You already identified like one of the things. The explosions are all real explosions.
And horses have been scared.
The fact that when they're walking through like the dusty town and stuff, it's an actual town. It's not like half a town plus like a CGI background or anything. When they're in the forest, it's a genuine forest, not like a set or anything where like
The locations were good, were they?
oh, beautiful. Like
You've got
the
one
one
there.
thing that
Yeah.
needs you're not supposed, don't you read my notes. These are private notes. Personal
Private notes that everyone can see.
One of them says Andy smells.
Andy Harrison smells.
So, yeah, these like huge sweeping wide shots. The fact they use that environment and it looks absolutely beautiful, like Wild West plus the snow. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous. But one thing Tarantino can do is shoot a film and make it look absolutely stunning.
I was thinking that when I was watching it. I was just thinking like, this is shot very nicely. It's they're so lovely to look at.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
Very
Defined good shit.
I don't know how we are on time.
Have you got something you want to bring up? Like,
No, I was going to buy your last note
oh, go on then.
because it's like going towards the end.
Go on. You can raise the last note.
So besides Andy Harrison smells, it says passage of time. How it goes through seasons, you mean?
It's so one thing that bugs me about films, right, is
I
when
agree.
they don't take place
Yeah.
across a decent amount of time.
That really pisses me off too.
And I want to raise a good modern example of this, which just came out like a couple months ago, Suicide Squad.
I haven't seen it.
So they meet and like have their final fight in which they refer to each other as, oh, now we're part of like a family. Within a day, 2 days maybe,
Fuck.
within a day.
No.
Here we actually have time passes with Django and Schultz. Like there, he actually says, "Do you want to come on and help me out for the winter, and then we'll go and find your wife?" And the whole winter passes, and then they go on this adventure to find out. I felt like those two had been together for a long time,
Yeah.
and that's why his death paid off at the end.
Was there a little montage in there where it went towards winter and spring, where they did stuff together and they picked up bounties?
I don't think there's an actual montage, but
It's like
like
what
it
is
cuts
that
to a
thing?
couple of like
Yes,
where he
yeah,
kills
yeah.
the
Yeah.
dad that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah. No, that's interesting. The only example I can think of that does that with like it relates like the how long something is. It's unfortunately not a film. It's the game Last of Us. How that has cuts through seasons and that just gives you the relationship between the characters, which is amazing. You know, Ellie and Joel. Just two of them. It's how it just goes over time.
Yeah.
Which going back to our original thing, the relationship between Schultz and Django, that passage of time is a good. You call it? Yeah, I suppose you could call it a catalyst of their relationship.
Yeah, and like they show it really well. Like you can see after that winter's done, when I think they're sitting having a meal somewhere,
Yeah.
and the way Django's talking to Schultz is suddenly slightly different.
That's very interesting.
He's more confident the way he's talking to him, so it's represented like beautifully in terms of the way the characters interact.
Good shout. Mara, what would you rate it out of 10?
Oh no,
I don't want
this bit.
I don't like it. On what though? You can't. That's such a big question.
Do you want to start us off?
We did like
give
kind of
Samara
prepare
some
for this week by let's watch Django. We'll see what. I'm joking. Sorry. Fuck.
Go on, number boy.
I really liked it before, but now you raise those points, it's very interesting. I'd have to say before today, I'd probably rate it a good 8, which is last week. So I do apologise. 8's a number I like. But now you mentioned that whole thing about slavery, I'm gonna have to watch it fucking again. He's trying to see if like that really just stand out to me. So it could change on my next watch. But prior to this conversation, 8.
I want to give it a prefaced 7.
Interesting.
Right, and a prefaced 7 because I don't want someone to
Why do you
think.
be so fucking
Because,
pretentious?
because I think I
A
gave.
prefaced
Did
7?
I give The Martian 8 last week?
I think you gave it a 7.
No, I'll give it an 8, didn't I?
I feel like it was an 8.
He's got to be an 8. If
Anyway.
not, I'm changing it to an 8. So if I'm giving this a 7, I want to be clear. This is better shot. This is a better constructed film than The Martian.
Mm.
But it's Tarantino. Sorry,
But-
Tarantino.
It's just a bit like self-indulgent.
Yeah, people call him Tarantino self-indulgent constantly.
And unfortunately, they're correct.
Yeah.
So 7 for you. Samara, it's back to you. You've had time to
I
think.
feel like I want to give it a 7.5. Sorry.
I want to say 6.
Cool. No, that's absolutely fine.
I thought you'd be way higher than that.
I know.
Tarantino's my favourite director.
No, like when I was 12.
When you were 12? Why were you
Yeah.
watching Tarantino when you were 12?
I have an older brother.
My God, man.
I was watching Blade when I was like,
I can understand Blade more than Tarantino. You've seen Pulp Fiction recently?
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I feel like that was one of the ones that we waited on. He was like,
Yeah,
you're 15,
hold
that's
on,
alright.
So you just went for Reservoir Dogs instead.
Oh, fuck yeah. Do you realise that was the first one I saw on Tarantino?
See, that's good stuff. I love like Reservoir Dogs and I love
I need to
Pulp
watch that
Fiction.
again. It's good.
Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Yeah, so it's 6.
Yeah, I don't know why. It just feels like a 6. Like, I'm not taken with it.
That is a good question for you, because
Not Liam Neeson with
Tarantino
it.
was, or maybe still is your favourite director. How do you
Say
feel
that.
his,
Definitely a
at
favourite
the
director.
start, how do you feel his films have progressed over time?
That's interesting.
Good question.
Fuck off. Please.
What do you mean, like?
Like, if you look at the old days, like, one of my favourites from him, and it's very underrated, and not many people look at it when they go on Tarantino's films, is Dusk Till Dawn. And what you said before about Tarantino's role in Django as one of the worst ones, in Dusk Till Dawn, he's like a fucking major character. He's fucking brilliant in that film.
Yeah.
And, like, to me, like, going to
That's a
that
good
stuff,
point.
and I love it, and, you know, Kill Bill and stuff like that. Like you said, Reservoir Dogs, there's another one out there, obviously, Pulp Fiction. Do you realize Pulp Fiction's actually not one of my favourites by him? I think there's so much
Interesting.
emphasis on Pulp Fiction. I'm a hipster. Because everyone else likes
We
it,
can
I don't
tell.
like it. No, I'm joking. There's reasons why. It's not one of my favourites, but I might have to watch again. Anyway, do you reckon they have or haven't? Because to me, Inglourious Basterds is his best film. But I think part of that is due to Christopher Waltz, and I think and some of the other actors in that film are just absolutely incredible. It is beautifully shot, unlike Dusk Till Dawn, which isn't as beautifully shot. But I think the whole Tarantino part of Dusk Till Dawn is better than something like Inglourious Basterds, where a lot of that film's theme and Django is, you know, the actors have brought a lot of that to it as well, not just Tarantino.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like I can't really say. I just thought I'd ask you.
Well, I feel like there's like there's two different tones of his like early stuff and his like later stuff. And Inglourious Basterds is like smack bang in the middle.
love that film.
Because same, I think that's probably my favourite
Yeah,
of his.
yeah.
It's good.
It's so fucking good. That's a
Um,
10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, because I feel like the first I've not seen Dusk Till Dawn.
Good. Please watch it.
I will.
It's one of the best, one of the better, if not the best. Not the best, but it's one of the better vampire movies out there. It's not this fucking Twilight bollocks. It's a good vampire movie. It's brilliant. I think I've just fucking said so much.
It's not this fucking Twilight bollock.
No, not that.
It's just a line.
I just kind of like mentioned it was a vampire movie. I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I wasn't
yeah.
going to go there, but well done.
I
Terrible.
don't even remember.
Andy,
Okay.
do you reckon overtime? We need to move on as well.
We do. I think over time, Tarantino. Yeah, you've summed it up. Tarantino's making structurally better films.
Do you reckon he's
I
using
think
his name too much?
No, I think maybe he's still heading towards his best film. I know he's got this big
Rather
thing where
interesting.
he's saying,
I did like
I'm only going to make 10 films. Like, that's Tarantino's thing. He says he's going to make 10 films, then he's out. He might still be heading towards his best film, but like, I love some
He's
of his
licking your
stuff.
ass for before Tarantino. He screwed you over before. Now he's saying, I want him to do well, mate.
Because we clearly know Tarantino is watching this right now. Hi, Quentin.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
So no, there's a good, I'd be interested to see what it is because I do love Inglourious Bastards. Right,
So,
that's our thing, and that's our summary of Django Unchained. I think what it is, 2012 Tarantino. There was a lot of emphasis on himself, the director, and his work. I like the points raised about the characters and everything, like the relationship, for example. It was interesting, that slavery question. I'm going to have to watch it again and do that because I think we spent a lot of time talking about that, but it's so fucking worth it because that's a very good point, well played. Next week, really. That's the end of this session.
So we got there in the end.
Please tell us what you think, by the way, and especially, I'd be interested in that slavery question. That's a fucking good question. Like, do other stuff as well. Let us know what you think about Tarantino as a director. If you're one of his students, don't bother, because you're fucking bumming anyway. Sorry, Samara.
I mean,
But yeah, just let us know what you think about film, and also like the points that we raised and everything like that. Next week.
Yeah, one thing. So the thing we always do is Film Club every single week is we want to let you know what we are going to be watching and discussing next week, so you can watch along with us. Next week, Fargo.
Coen Brothers.
We're going to do the Coen Brothers.
Can't wait. I can't wait. It's such a brilliant film. Not the TV series. You may have watched the TV series. You haven't seen the film. Watch the fucking film.
Yeah.
Because that's why the TV series is so good, because of the fucking original film. It's wow.
Absolutely.
So let us know what you think for next, what your comments are for next week, and we will discuss them if we have any. Probably not. It might be Tarantino saying you're a fucking prick.
Absolutely. And if you want to have a chat with us, you can either leave a comment in the comments below, or you can go and find us on Twitter at ConCritical, or you can find me at PhilMcAndy, you at Andy Donaldson6. Samara's a Twitter phobe.
Sazza 1K21.
Yeah, tweet that person. Let them know what you think of slavery. And until next time, thank you very much for watching.
Bye.